much. Your boy Brently, and yes, I am back on the battlefield. I saw where they had community mission for revives, and I rarely play Battlefield 4 anymore. I really don't play as a meg, so I'm like, 25 revives, that's no problem, especially on Operation Locker, and I just wanted to get community mission, which was a pair of dog tags, which I haven't even looked at. Anyway, boy, do I got some stories for you today. Oh, good. First of all, haven't had any contact with Flight Princess. Don't know anything about what's going on. Last I heard, California, probation, drinking, nothing much new to report there. But what I want to talk about is what happened to me about a week and a half. And what happened is an old fraternity brother of mine, Jay, found a bunch of old rolls of film that he never got developed. And so he went and got them developed. And it ended up being a bunch of old pictures, 20-some years ago from college. And there was a bunch of pictures of me back when I was young and handsome and skinny at this formals my sophomore year. And I don't remember where it was. I don't really remember the theme or anything, but I do remember my date. My date was this very charming person named Leslie Ballard from Little Rock, Arkansas. And so I'm like, I saw these pictures of me and Leslie. I'm like, I haven't talked to Leslie in 23 years or so, 20 years, whatever. I'm like, I just try to look her up on Facebook, see how she's doing, because honestly, she came from a very well-off family. She was very intelligent, very charming, your proper Southern belle. Just keep that in the back of your mind, because the story gets interesting, still in total shock. So I couldn't find Leslie on Facebook. So I started going to the next greatest investigative tool known to man, Google. And I type in Leslie Ballard. And there's lots of Leslie Ballards, but they're all male. I'm like, no, I know for a fact she's a female. And I'll just let y'all guess how I know. Yeah, you can figure it out. Anyway, so everything came up. Leslie Ballard, Little Rock. It said everything came up Leslie Ballard, McCool. So I'm like, that's weird. So this person's in some serious legal. This person makes butterflies that look like a fucking saint. Trust me. So I started looking into this case, and I'm starting to read about it, and it kind of sounds like. But her mugshot looks nothing like her. She was a bleach blonde. Looks like she lost like 30 pounds. And Leslie wasn't fat. She just had like a plump, round face. I like a little meat in my taters. I don't like those sick figure women. Some people with no ass. That's just not me. But anyway, so I started looking into this. I'm like, wow, that's kind of weird. And I look at, I'll tell you didn't. This is a fucked up story. So just grab your popcorn because it gets good. So anyway, so I'm looking at her most recent mugshot, which I think was taken a year ago. I'm like, holy fuck, that's her. Holy shit. So I started reading about the case, and there was a Wicked Attractions, which is a TV show on Discovery ID, or what South Park would call informative murder porn. And I watched that, and I'm like, and the reason it's informative murder porn is because the acting, when they reenact these crimes, it's so bad. It's like you don't watch porn for the acting, you watch porn for the porn. So informative murder porn, you watch for the murder, not the acting. And so it was about 6 minutes in, and then they show a picture of the real Leslie and her family, and I almost had a heart attack. Holy hell. It was a picture of her dad standing up, and her mom was sitting right next to him, and she's next to her mom. Leslie was. And I'm like, holy fuck, I've seen that picture. Because that picture was sitting in a nice frame right next to her telephone in her dorm room her freshman year. I remember seeing it many, many times because I would shack up with her a lot, and I'd borrow a phone on occasion. And I'm just like, holy fucking, that right then you could tip me over with a feather. I could not believe. So anyway, here's Leslie's story. Okay, Leslie, only child, very well, good to do family. They owned a printing business in Little Rock. She was very proper, very polite. A little crazy, but most women that age are a little nutty, but nothing like what I'm about to tell you, trust me. Well, anyway, she gets her master's degree from University of Arkansas, and Daddy buys her a house as a graduation present, and She works for the family business and living a boring life. And then all of a sudden she starts shacking up with this old guy, like 20 some odd years old she was, and he's married. And now the Leslie I knew, would never mess around with a married man, never. Well, she did this for a while. Then he gets divorced, so she moves in with him. And after 2 years of living together, and her parents did not like this guy, and for good reason. He had a very checkered past, got kicked out of the Marines. When he was 16, his buddy of his, who was 14, got drunk in his car, threw up, so he threw him out. So this guy pulled him out, threw him on the pavement. The guy hit his head and died. I mean, this guy's questionable at best. So anyway, after 2 years of Leslie living with this old guy, they up and get married. No big freaking ceremony. I mean, it was like nobody knew about it. Parents didn't even knew about it, which that's just tip of the iceberg of the story. So her parents didn't even know about it until like a month later. Like, oh, congratulations, I heard your daughter got married. And her mom had no idea. So once that shit happened, the parents, and I don't blame them, tried to protect all their assets so this guy couldn't get his hands on it. Somehow Leslie sold the house her dad gave her, bought a condo, and pocketed the difference because the condo is way cheaper than a house. And I guess somehow her mom talked Leslie into signing over the deed to the condo to her mother. Now, how she pulled that shit off, I don't know. Talk about salesmanship. Holy fuck. Anyway, so Leslie, once she realized what she did, she signed over her place to her mother. She knew her husband was going to flip out, and so she tried to kill herself. She slit her wrist. Hubby comes home, finds her bleeding out on the kitchen floor. Died out, but Leslie didn't die. So anyway, Leslie would constantly, they'd be on vacation. She bought them Harley, a couple of sports cars. I'm not sure what kind of car, but from friends of mine down there, I've heard it was either a Corvette or a Dodge Viper. So we're talking high end. And Leslie did have money. When she was with me, I remember we wouldn't buy a Harley dealership in town. She's like, I'll buy you one day. And I'm like, no, that's okay. And for the record, we called it quits because she decided not to come back to Westminster after her freshman year. She decided to stay in Arkansas, be close to her family. There was never any bad blood or arguments or anything. So anyway, Leslie's constantly whining and dying this guy. They're going on vacations. She knows her dad's sick because the stress, all this bullshit's getting to him. And she goes to Florida with him. And she calls, just out of the blue, hey, Mom, how you doing? Just checking in. Oh, by the way, your dad's dead. Leslie's like, what? When did this happen? Yeah, your dad died, 10 days ago. And Leslie allegedly got on the next plane expecting a big payday because she is an only child. She gets home, and her father changed the will to where she only got $25,000, and her mother gets everything. Well, all these cars, motorcycles, trips, blah, 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 blah. Leslie needed money. She's maxed out her credit cards, and, she was always taken care of. So she's pretty pissed that she's only getting $25,000. Her husband's reading into the will, looking into it, and allegedly there's a clause that says, well, if Mom dies within 30 days of Dad, I get it all. So they come up with this dumbass plan to dress Leslie as a ninja, and where the ski mask didn't cover her eyes, they put mascara, so like a black face. Wear a curled wig, and wear shoes that were like 3 sizes too big, and she was going to go over to her mom's house and kill her. Okay. That is the worst fucking plan I have ever fucking heard in my life. You can't make this shit up. And go ahead and Google Leslie Ballard McCool, McKool. I am not making any of this shit up. So anyway, now here's where I want to side note. Okay, so the husband takes Leslie all up like a ninja over to her mother's, drops her off. Okay, Leslie, I knew at one time cared for, would have realized as soon as she got dropped off and hubby's gone, she would have realized she's in way overhead. She would have walked in that house with her mother and begged her mom to call the cops to help her out. And that would have solved a lot of her problems. She would have got rid of her husband, at least for 5-6 years, and her mother would, eventually come around because she is the only child. But that's not what happened. So Leslie gets dropped off, dressed like a black ninja, goes in mom's house, and this is a shocking part of the story because I have never known anyone that's capable of this kind of violence. She stabbed her mother not once, not twice, not 10 times, but 74 fucking times. Yeah, took the jewelry, took a coin collection, stole her car, left it in the black part of town. And I'm just in shock that someone that I knew personally and I was intimate with, and it was 20 some odd years ago, would do something like that. And I'm still kind of in shock. And all my friends I went to college with are in shock. And I guess you just never really know people. Between this and the Butterfly Princess, holy shit, I've got bad taste in women. Well, anyway, that's my story for